Start it, Bob.
Start it.
Okay, anchoring technique. I'm going to have to read this because the text is somewhat voluminous here. So we positioned ourselves in a good spot, and it's time to actually set the hook. In some respects, this is the easiest step, but this is the step that so many boaters mess up on because they don't have patience. The key to successful anchoring is always to have patience, take your time, and do it correctly. First, you need to start by knowing how much water you're in, because that's going to dictate how much road you have to lay out in order for the anchor to set properly. We have a routine between my wife and I where Carol is always up on the helm on the fly bridge, and I'm down here manning the anchor. We do that because she can control the boat, and I can control and keep an eye on what's going on forward here. All the PDQs have the remote control for dropping and raising the anchor, and I'm going to start by just dropping this just a little bit here so it's okay, it's just about at water level. Carol, how deep is it here?
4-6.
4-6. So in theory, if we let out 7 times 4-6, let's say 5 feet, we want to let out about 35 feet of anchor road. So the first thing we want to do is we want to get our nose up into the wind. So Carol, why don't you put the right engine in reverse and the left engine in forward, and that's going to cause us to spin around here. And we're going to have patience and wait until we're nose into the wind. You can see the boat starting to swing around now. No need to rush. Okay, we're almost there. Once we are nose up into the wind and there is no forward or aft movement in the boat, you want the boat to be still. Like right now, why don't you put both engines in neutral, Carol? And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to drop the anchor. Now it's on the bottom, and now I'm going to give it about 5 to 7 feet. And now, both engines in reverse, Carol, to get a little reverse momentum going. Neutral. Neutral, Carol. Thank you. Now what this is going to do is it's going to stretch out the anchor chain so that it's straight and so that the anchor is let out. That, by the way, is my chain marker. I'm going to let the boat seize up on that so that it's pointing straight ahead. Now the anchor has actually started setting a little bit. We drag the anchor back a little bit. Now Carol, put both engines in reverse for just a couple of seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, neutral. Now that's just enough to get us a little reverse momentum. So it stretches the chain out. Let's do it again, Carol. This is the part where patience pays off. Watch the chain stretching out there. That's it, neutral. Now we dug the anchor in a little bit. Now I'm going to release a little more. Now we're going to do the same thing again, reverse, for a count of about 4 or 5 seconds, no more than that. That'll get us the momentum going back, neutral. And now watch how the chain seizes up. Okay, and now we've dug that anchor in just a little bit more, just a few more inches. And now what we're going to do is we're going to let out all the about right there. Let's take a cut. Okay, now that we have the total amount of scope out that we intend to have out, it's time to attach the bridle to the chain. We do that simply by attaching it, snapping it on, and Now each one of these goes to each side. Very, very simple. Now we pay out a little bit more anchor road. What we're trying to do here is to get all of the tension taken out by the bridle so that there's no pressure on the engine at all. Carol, why don't you go ahead and put the right engine in reverse. Okay, let's see. Neutral. Okay, right engine in reverse again. Okay, both engines in reverse, just in idle though. And you'll notice during this entire exercise, we've never gone past idle on the throttles, and that's a key. So many times you'll see people apply too much power, and it never gives the anchor a chance to set, and they just literally drag it over the top of the sand very rapidly. It defeats the whole purpose of setting an anchor. There's a rule of thumb that in idle, that is the equivalent of about a 25-mile-an-hour wind blowing on the boat. If you bump it up, and idle is about 700 RPM. If you bump it up to 1,000 RPM, that's the equivalent of about a 40 to 45 knot wind on the bow of the boat. So you can see where going up above 1,000 RPM is totally inappropriate to set a hook. So Carol, go ahead and bump it up now in reverse. Go ahead and put it in reverse, in idle. And then once we've got the strain on the hook here, ooh, there we go. A little tight. Okay, that way that. Okay, you'll notice that we're not dragging. We've taken a couple of lines of sight here so that the boat is not moving. Go ahead and give it a little bit more gas in reverse now, Carol. What RPM is that? It's about 800? Okay. So that's about 800 RPM. That's the equivalent of about a 30 to 35 mile an hour wind. We're not dragging 1 inch. The anchor is buried, and we are there. End of story. You'll sleep well if you follow these techniques. You've seen how to anchor from the deck of a boat. Now let's see what really happens underwater. Here we've dropped the hook. We're paying out that extra chain. We are reversing the boat very slowly. Now watch what happens here on the first pull. There you go. We've got the anchor aligned properly now. We're paying out the chain. She started to grab. This is the part where most people make a mistake. They give it too much power and it just drags over the top and never has a chance to set. But we've started properly here. Now we're paying out more chain, and we're going to go to a second very light pull on the anchor. See how it dug in a little bit more there, another few inches. This is the part where patience comes into play. And now we're paying out the final amount of chain, and we're attaching the bridle. And then once that's accomplished, we're going to give her one final medium pull. That's coming up. Watch her set now. There she goes, right there. Now at that point, you notice the flat part of the anchor is virtually totally buried in the sand. That's really all there is to it. Good plan, good equipment, and good execution. If you take your time, have patience, you're guaranteed a good night's sleep. Hope you've enjoyed this video.